right? Kanter, NBA player, currently with the Boston Celtics. Now, I fear that he is making himself an example, right? And a symbol at the same time. And I feel that he's doing things on his own, but I feel like there's a certain level of in the hood they say there's a battery being put in his back, right? And I call it the social justice battery is being put in his back as a proverbial crash dummy to see what happens when you go all in against the powers that be on this topic, right? He changed his name, you know, to Freedom, and he became a U.S. citizen. I believe he was a Turkish national. I don't know Turkey. I'm not no Syrian. I didn't do research, but I know he changed his name, and he recently became a U.S. citizen. And I'm really stoned because with this algorithm, you gotta let it ride out a little bit before certain keywords get picked up. But people have to listen to him, and to Rudy Gobert. And anyone who's been getting tweets from me um, revolving around the YouTube posts or on Twitter has to know that been on point for years now, And there's a lot of people in the league that I reach out to. A lot of y'all reach out to in the league for years now. And y'all can't say I troll, and you can't say anything that I've sent you with some BS, right? So we're going to get into this.
For the Boston Celtics, sorry. I had politics on the brain. Celtics on the brain now.
That was a Freudian slip.
You've joined us before, though, and you are relentless with your speaking out on this matter. I just want to play this for you. Politics was on the brain because I was thinking about Nancy Pelosi, and she is doubling down on this message. Can we roll this? This is from earlier this morning.
I wish the athletes well. I do not encourage them to speak out against the Chinese government there because I fear for their safety if they do.
Now, first things first, right? You fear for their safety if they speak out. Why would you agree to have games on a global level in a country where you would have to fear for the safety of the athletes from America? When you have to fear for the safety of American athletes in another country, that's a red flag. Why are you having the games in that country? Clearly, freedom of speech does not exist for their people if your own Americans can't go over there and speak out on things that are happening over there, right? That is incredibly shocking and hypocritical to me,
I'll remove all doubt about why I said they shouldn't speak out because I fear for their safety. So I hope they're safe athletically, politically, in every other way.
So that
that should worry people, So now they moved on with the games. They gave the okay for the games during the beginning of this healthcare crisis. Why would you agree to having the games in the place which was and was confirmed on reports of being a quote unquote source of the current health care situation that the globe is dealing with? It didn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to me. Let's listen to some more.
how you say what, Enes?
I mean, athletes have freedom to say whatever they want to say. And obviously, they have a huge platform. There are so many, people out there are following, especially the young generation. So I feel like whenever they see wrong, they have to speak up. They have to say something. And, they cannot just keep their mouth shut and just be part of the propaganda, And so I feel like if they see, something wrong, I encourage them to say something so change can come. We were talking, Enes, earlier about these corporate sponsors
and seem to be turning a blind eye to the genocide against the Uyghur population to continue to sponsor the Olympic Games. Time magazine put it this way: Olympic sponsors are banking on public indifference to China's human rights abuses, which brings to mind this now infamous statement by the Warriors co-owner Chamath Palihapitiya. Listen here.
Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? You bring it up because you really
What?
care, and I think
What do
that's
you mean
nice
nobody
that you
cares?
care. The rest of us don't care. I'm just
Well,
telling you a
don't care?
very hard.
Wait,
I'm
you're
telling
saying
you
you
a very.
personally don't care?
I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth. Okay, of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line.
So his comments clearly were reprehensible, Enes, but was he speaking an inconvenient truth here? That for many people, including in the C-suites of many of America's biggest companies, they don't care either.
I mean, it's just shame on them for not putting morals over money. I mean, I feel like we need to, as an athlete, I need to call out these, companies like sponsors like Airbnb, Coca-Cola, Intel, Panasonic, P&G, Samsung, Toyota, and Visa. But at the same time, they know that they care too much about their money and business. And
See the companies that he named out. These are all major corporations. They can't have NSA and that stuff. And what that Golden State Warriors co-owner just said, what he just said is something that if the Warriors players, Clay, Steph, Draymond, if they knew about how serious it was, that's serious. It's serious. I won't say it's along the lines of was Don Sterling, the Clippers owner, and what he said and did, but the disregard, for people, is the sentiment is the same. It's middle finger to you, but what he said pertaining to the Muslim Uyghurs, of I don't care, we don't care. Well, as far as the things that are important to me in my life, that's not on my radar. That's how it is with us as a people. That's why when you see that you've got this open border in the South and they don't care about crime, and then they continue to act as if, crime is this result of, market forces and not a connection between law and order and lack of social services for young men, youth in the inner cities. That's the same thing they're saying about us. We don't give a F, a little bit more. We're in this.
Endorsement is going on, as especially to that Warrior Zone. It's disgusting. When I saw that video, I was very disappointed. But the crazy thing is, I saw his apology, but he did not say a word about the Uyghurs or anything like that, because they know the NBA or Warriors or himself will lose millions of dollars. It's a shame, but I feel like as an athlete, I need to hold these people, corporate sponsors or owners and associations accountable. And it's a shame. It's a shame, like I said, not putting morals over money.
I just wonder, listening to you now and having spoken with you before, and you continue to speak out, do you fear any sort of retaliation?
I mean, someone had to do it.
Do you fear any sort of retaliation? And he says someone had to do it. He decided to do it, not a vested interest, because, not traditionally American, not an African American to say, oh, he's fighting. So he, by coming from a country that's dealing with real issues, he's able to embrace the freedom that America has, that some Americans don't even realize how lucky they are, which is why they're supporting policies that are taking their freedoms away. And I hate to say it, but when you look at liberal policies, that's all that it is. You can't defund your way police into bringing the National Guard in. You know what I mean? A little more Enes.
You see, there are so many, athletes, not just athletes, actors, singers, rappers, or people who have a platform, are remaining silent. The issues are when it comes to, China, because when you see right now what's happening over there, forced brutality, torture, mass arrest, execution, labor camps, religious repression, genocide, period. But just they know they're gonna lose so much money in business. They remain silent, and it's disgusting. To me, it's bigger than basketball, bigger than sports, bigger than NBA. So I will continue to be the voice of all those innocent people out there who don't have a voice.
And there seems to be a sense that some of these big corporate sponsors pick and choose what they're going to speak out against. For example, the Coca-Cola Company spoke out loudly against voting in Georgia, but yet has remained silent when it comes to Beijing. Listen to this exchange between Senator Tom Cotton and Paul Lally, who's Coca-Cola's global.
And here's the setup too. So you got Josh Hawley, you got Tom Cotton, even someone like Senator Tim Scott, who's African American. Someone like Larry Elder, they'll tell you people are racist. And if they are black, they'll tell you that they're, race adjacent, or they're coons, just so you can disregard the message. Tom Cotton's one of those people that they'll tell you, oh, he's racist, he's this and he's that. So when he speaks, you disregard what he's saying. When half the time, the guy is really fighting and championing for our freedoms and the Constitution. But that foundation gives us the liberty for us to do what we've been doing all these years in this country, right? So the voting's right, the voting bill, they paint it as this racist legislation when all it is saying that people need ID, the same type of ID that you need to now go into restaurants. You need ID to go into the gym. You need ID to go into a hospital. You need, if you go to BJ's or Costco's, you need ID to use your card in order to make those perfect purchases. In New York, I'm here in New York, you go in any office building in Manhattan or Brooklyn, you have to provide ID to get upstairs. Most apartment buildings now that have doormen, you need ID to get in. So why wouldn't you want people to have ID to vote? It's clear. You have easily 2+ million people get in undocumented. They want to have undocumented people voting. Clearly, those people who are able to benefit from our loose policies that are able to come in, they get financial aid, which is what they're trying to do now with more money. They want to be able to provide, financial assistance, which is what you would call, it's easily, you're buying votes, from a population of people that you let come in. So Coca-Cola and these major corporations, they're down with the woke mob. They'll talk about, oh, voting and vote, 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 or going against this is racist, but then they have nothing to say about, obvious discrimination, torture, rape overseas when they're about to participate and sponsor events over there. Hypocritical. But listen to Tom Cotton's exchange with Coca-Cola's fraud executive.
VP for Human Rights at a recent Senate hearing.
Can you tell me why Coca-Cola doesn't have a say in whether it sponsors the Genocide Olympics next year, but it does have a say in how the state of Georgia runs its election laws?
So what I stated was that we do not have a say in the selection of the host city, nor on whether an Olympics is postponed or relocated.
So you don't, but you could just make a statement. Your CEO could saddle up the same moral high horse that he got on when Georgia passed its election law and write a letter to the IOC and ask them to. Anybody could do that.
As I stated, we are most engaged on policy issues here at home, but we are clear in our respect for human rights globally.
So you heard what he said there, and as he said, we do not have a selection in the host city or on whether Olympics are postponed or relocated. But if the IOC chooses a city in a country that has a terrible human rights record, can't you as a corporation say, you know what, we don't want any part of this?
Well, let me just make this very, very clear to the whole people in America. IOC sleeps in the same bed with China. They do not care about human rights or anything like that. They care about money, and they care about the business. It's a shame on them. They're organizing a game in a country like China where there's a genocide happening. But I feel like, I can talk about the biggest sponsor, Nike, because I am actually in it. When it comes to, America, the Nike stands for, Black Lives Matter, Latino community, LGBTQ community, no Asian hate. But when it comes to China, they remain silent, and it's the biggest hypocrisy. But as an athlete, I cannot keep my mouth shut. I need to call out and hold this, people, corporate sponsors, associations, and organizations accountable, and expose them as much as I can.
At the end of this, you have to feel for the athletes. You know, just listening to Caitlyn Jenner last hour.
Yeah.
You know,
Peace and love to
she
Enes
knows
Kanters,
firsthand
man.
what it's like.
I'll be with this guy. He's doing great work. I hope he stays safe. Support him, y'all.